Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now, Captain Finance himself, Sully.
From the Loft 100 Studios, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, welcome to the Big Biz Show. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks, as always, for being along for the ride. Costa, Mary Godwin, Greg Todoroff, Captain Finance.
I know we're cutting that crap. I don't know where that came from. I don't know who the voiceover guy called.
Hey, man.
I've never been called Captain
Don't shoot
Finance.
the messenger, bro.
I have other names for myself.
Superman.
Are you cranky today? You seem cranky about sports today. Any sports thing you're cranky about?
We were just talking about the World Series, the fact that it's been just an absolute turd if you're a Yankee fan, because the Dodgers have just had their way.
Which is great.
Which is great because, 27 World Series, but not this one. But,
Let me tell you, so I hate the Dodgers with to the pit of my soul.
A lot of people do.
Because I'm a Padre fan.
Of course.
And I'm a Phillies fan. Okay?
Yep.
Long story short. But if you get beat by the best team in baseball that wins the World Series, doesn't it make it a little easier to take that your team didn't make it?
100%.
Well, at least we got the floor mopped with us by the guy. Because if they lose in the next round, it's like, okay, seriously?
We could have done that.
It's a long climb to the middle.
It really is.
It really is. Boy, I'll tell you, have you seen the rancor that's going on? Hey, look at the day trader traders here. What are you doing? You guys are working today? Yeah. You guys are working today?
I love James' new hair.
I like the beanie.
Beautiful.
Looking good.
I didn't know you were gray.
Looking good.
Have you seen the rancor that's going on with the election suddenly?
Oh,
Suddenly.
you think?
No, it's suddenly.
Oh, well, last night.
It's all the crap,
on
all the
Fox.
made-up stuff. Did you see the comedian? The comedian that sells out Madison Square
Tony
Garden.
Hinchcliffe?
That Donald Trump brought out.
Yeah, that's
in the
Tony
middle
Hinchcliffe.
The guy he sells places out, and apparently, he just killed his career. I don't know that I want to repeat what he said, but it was.
I think he referred to a certain U.S. territory as a floating pile of garbage.
But I think he was being self-deprecating because I believe he
covered everybody in his
Isn't
routine.
that what comedians are supposed to do?
Thank you.
Right.
Aren't they
Let's
supposed
make
to be
funny
offensive
funny again.
offensive and
So
funny?
here's the big news. If you wanted to get in front of as many people as you could, as fast as you could,
Right.
Joe Rogan, 40 million people, just that fast, right?
Yep.
Wouldn't you just say yes and just go?
Trump did. 3 hours.
However, which I'm not sure helped him as much as many people think it did. However, Kamala Harris just says, no, I'll let Joe Rogan interview me, but he's got to come to my place and I'll give him an hour. I mean, I don't think it's strategically a good thing. You have 3 hours of the number one watched, listened to set of media
Your
in
last
the world.
gasp.
It is. You can almost.
She shouldn't have 3 hours to give right now. She's a little bit busy.
Is she?
What, no, is she? Because she's certain. Are either of them? Because they're going to spend. If either of them gets in, they're going to only work for 2 years. Spend the next 2 years. Well, I guess Donald Trump can't get reelected. He's only got 2 terms. Most politicians spend the second half of their thing trying to get reelected.
Yep.
Anyway, speaking of people that will be president of the United States someday, look at here, Howie Font here, the punctropreneur. What's up, Howie? Yes or no? Do you feel in your heart of hearts that you'll be president someday, or at least take a run for it?
Oh yeah, no, that's not a feeling. I can do that in 5 years.
But what happens when they come and they look back at these years when you're with us? What do you think that's going to do to your credibility?
Right.
It's called a ghost.
Listen,
This is documented, by the way.
Yeah.
My generation has had phones while they've been teenagers. We're gonna see some things about future presidents that we've never seen before. Not stuff that hasn't happened.
That's a great way to put it. Hey, did I hear Goldman Sachs put out a report calling for the market to return to an average of 3% for the next 10 years? Don't answer that. We'll tell you after we get back from the break. Big Biz Show is on there. That's called the art of the tease.
Oh, yes.
Now you're sitting in your driveway through all those commercials.
Driveway moment.
All those radio person. Now you're on the couch. Oh boy, you're set. 3% for the next 10 years.
What did he say?
There's a silver lining.
Good.
Big Biz Show. See you in a minute.
It is the Big Biz Show, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. As always, we appreciate you for being along for the ride. In parts of the world, it's also known as a large financial program.
Yeah, I don't know what part of the world that is.
Costa, Mirabur,
For
Godwin,
your own little podcast you guys done? Hey,
Greg Todoroff, and Sully.
It's a large financial program. And look who joins us here.
Oh, boy, my hero.
Kirk Huntsman, CEO of Vivos Therapeutics. They are publicly traded under stock symbol VVOS, and this is all about obstructive sleep apnea. And for the sole limited purpose of, I mean, it's turned into a public forum because I know our networks wanted to have you back for another part 2 when we had you an hour ago last month, full hour a month ago last month, and then of course we decided to put Mike under your wing there. And you guys spend some time together?
At the request of his spouse. we have him
getting
emails. Full on treatment now, or he's headed that way.
Request or insistence?
Both.
We now have a gold bust of Kirk at our house when you first walked in. It's prominently displayed.
He's a reluctant warrior, but he's doing good.
So before we get to that, I want to talk about obstructive sleep apnea, the overview that you give shortly, because many people haven't seen you yet. We picked up some new affiliates, so I want to talk about the history there because this is a silent killer. We're talking about sleep apnea, right?
Yep. This is a condition that has plagued mankind from time immemorial, right? But we only discovered it as a medical condition 60 years ago. So if you think about that, we really haven't had a long time to figure out what the heck is going on here and what is the damage that obstructive sleep apnea is doing. And with each passing year, we find out more and more and more about how deleterious this is to our health, our wellness, our marriages, our lives, everything. And so, our company has come up, and frankly, one of the challenges is that medicine has had no good answers, right? We've had that mask thing. You got one of those, right? And it's sitting somewhere in your garage.
Hannibal Lecter,
Yeah, most of the time they sit on the floor of the bedroom when you tore it off your head.
Yeah. It gets covered with dust because you never put it back on.
And nobody wants it, right? Nobody wants it. And so it's a problem for the medical profession who comes to the table with a single solution for the most part that's non-surgical. And now Vivos comes along and says, hey, there's a better way. Yeah. We have some oral appliances that are uniquely designed with a special technology that actually reforms and remodels.
Yeah, you were physiologically reconstructing
a human airway.
Human airway.
Yeah.
Which is far-reaching benefits. Not only you're breathing better, you're sleeping better, it's healthy, but in some cases you're standing up straighter. In some cases you've solved a number of problems.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of your physiology.
No doubt. And we were here last time with a world-renowned cardiologist. I don't know if you remember.
I remember.
Yeah.
And another cardiologist from Chicago told me last week something I'll never forget. He said, Kirk, we are now realizing that obstructive sleep apnea is cardiovascular disease.
Whoa.
And it is the number one killer of people. Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of mankind throughout the world. And so this is really, we're starting to realize, whoa, this is a big problem, and Vivos has a very elegant, easy, affordable, safe, non-surgical solution.
Well, at the same time, you've got cardiologists leaning into this technology.
Oh, yeah.
Not just saying, oh, yeah, that's a great idea, you should do that. It's way beyond that.
Oh, yeah, the guy that I was just referencing, Dr. Nguyen, he's the chief of cardiology at a 9-hospital group in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, hey, every one of our patients has obstructive sleep apnea, and we need to do something about it, because when we do interventional cardiology and we use a device or something to help with the breathing and sleep, and we get oxygen, the stents last longer, the heart valves last longer. Everything in cardiology that we try to do interventionally lasts longer when we address sleep apnea. So I think we're on the cusp of some really cool things. And
So let's talk about Mike for a second.
Yeah.
We got some footage here. What happened yesterday? A little bit. We want to play real quick, and let's play it real quickly, and then we'll describe what happened here. Jared, just roll that, because this is down in La Jolla, California, downtown.
No, downtown
San Diego,
right off of Old Town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for the rest of the world, it's downtown San Diego.
Gas lamp.
Go ahead, Jared, roll that. Here we go.
Taking care of you today.
Oh, awesome. All right, so I just came through my second appointment with Dr. Sabine Purps and all the great people at Fine Dentistry. they are taking me down the path, along with everybody at Vivos Therapeutics, to getting rid of my sleep apnea. And it is so much more involved than I thought. Your mouth and your teeth and your palate and your esophagus, obviously, but also the way your spine is, the way your jaw's set. If you got a big giant Cro-Magnon head like I do, all of these things work together and in concert to either disrupting your sleep, or they do things here. Vivos does things where they change some things and they restore your normal breathing pattern. It's incredible stuff.
The main difference that I see with Vivos is they are fully backed up by the FDA. The appliances are researched for the last 25 years, and having the FDA approval is just key. The whole sleep space is a little bit of the wild, wild west. And so I rather go with a company that has the research, that has backing to make sure there's many doctors involved.
I cannot wait to finally lick and get rid of sleep apnea, and it's a path I'm so happy that I'm on.
So okay, so you're pleased. You're
That's a commendable amount of self-awareness for you to be able to go on and say those things and submit to that. I mean, that's really...
Listen,
But the rewards are going to be good. I promise. This is going to be a journey that you're going to really enjoy.
As soon as Greg and Sully had mentioned that this guy from Vivos Therapeutics was coming on, and I said, what does he do? He goes, well, he helps people with sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Red flag.
What?
Ears perked.
Okay, so what is he going through there? I saw teeth scans. I saw a thing where he has chin in something. What is he?
It looks like a little retainer. You just.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. That's the device.
That's it.
So
That's
the device, the device is actually it's called a functional oral appliance, or an oral medical device. It's a class 2 medical device that actually repositions the tissues that comprise the human airway. So the airway, we don't have an organ in our body called an airway. Our airway is actually defined by all the tissues around it. So our tongue, our mouth, the back of our throat, all those things define the size, shape, and function of our airway. If we can manipulate those tissues, reposition those tissues, and help them become more functional, our airways pop open. Yep. And so for a guy like this, he actually, you couldn't see on that there, but he is, all of us have been to, well, I don't drink coffee, but all of us have been to Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
Starbucks has these little stirring straws.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. His airway is the size, he's breathing through a stirring straw.
No way.
Really?
Yeah.
The technology that the dentist has and what Vivos is in concert with them using, the 3D imagery, the x-rays and things like that, they were showing me stuff in my skull that I would have never seen before.
Wow.
And to the point where they asked, did you have concussions as a kid or when you
We've asked you that all along.
Oh, I know,
Where
exactly.
you dropped on your head. There were a lot
Pretty
of
much.
questions like that.
And I've had several in high school and college playing football. And they said, well, okay, that makes sense
That
because
causes it?
doesn't.
We can see it.
They can see it and then they do the history and go, did you have like head trauma or something? Because that is leading to you having obstructive sleep apnea.
This is the more we learn about sleep apnea, the more we know it's complex. And what we do is we unravel, almost like a Rubik's Cube, we unravel the complexity and we put it straight. We get everything back to a neutral position, and you, sir, will be able to breathe again.
Yes.
And that's
really, how long is this journey take? Is this 2 years? Is it 1 year? Is it a couple months?
Well, you know, when we first started this journey, it took us 24 to 30 months to get a patient all the way through. We'll have him done in 9 to 12 months.
No kidding.
Does this improve your breathing when you're upright and awake and standing?
Yeah, so his breathing will improve.
Wow.
He won't notice it much during the daytime, but his breathing will improve during the day as well as at night.
Well, and from purely a financial standpoint, think about how many man hours are lost with
lost
businesses
productivity.
because people are just
On that subject, I want to talk about the company real quick. Vivos, VVOS is their stock symbol. You guys are getting market share because this is a story you have to tell. But how are you gaining market share so quickly? Because you are.
Well, I tell you what you've experienced here. I mean, 2 months ago we didn't even know each other.
Yeah, right.
But I come in here and all of a sudden there's multiple people that have sleep apnea. I think you said you had a child, right? And you've got it. And it's amazing everywhere we go. 1 out of 8 people walking around this planet has obstructive sleep apnea.
Whether they know it or not.
Whether they know it or not. 80 to 90% of them don't know it.
Right.
And so as more and more people become aware, then it starts to spread, and they go, oh, wait a minute, you just described my child. You described my spouse, my ex-spouse, my
Yeah, if you recall,
father.
I mean, they used to bring in the child. Remember the pediatrician that was sitting here?
Yes.
Was talking about just all of the, and again, leaning into this technology, not just saying, oh, you should try this.
Yeah.
There's a cause and effect that the light bulb's going off. With
Yes,
something,
it is.
right?
It's
ADHD
happening.
can be related and all sorts of things.
And for lack of a better term, it's a retainer.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
Oh, there's-
Where for how long?
So what you do is you pop it in after you eat dinner at night,
Okay.
right? So 7:30, you're popping it in, you're sleeping with it overnight, you take it out. Like he when he's in treatment, he'll be here, you won't know.
Won't know it.
He doesn't have to wear it all day.
Yeah.
And you do that for 6 to 9 months, have a few other things that are other types of treatment to go along with it, and you're done.
Well, we've got the expert once again, Dr. Bahar Esmaili, coming up with the next break. She is Vice President of Clinical Integration at Vivos. She's going to come talk about exactly what you're going through, because she does this also on a regular basis. Big Biz Show. We got the folks from Vivos in. Go check them out.
It is the Big Biz Show. We're coming to you live from sunny, beautiful Southern California inside the Loft 100 studios. Wherever you may be at this moment, as always, we appreciate you being along for the ride. I am Costa here. The end of the bar. There's Mary Godwin. There's Greg Todorov, our executive producer, and of course Sully.
We got Kirk Huntsman. Look who else showed up. Dr. Bahar Esmaili. So she is a practicing dentist. She's also the vice president of clinical integration at Vivos. So what you just saw with Mike do, this is an everyday thing for you. This is what you do on a
Pretty
daily.
much, yeah.
So what I want to know is, when you see patients like this, do you know ahead of time when you're looking at somebody saying this guy is breathing through a Starbucks straw? You can tell in a minute.
Oh yeah, it's like there's a nail in their forehead.
It's like what?
It's like there's a nail in their forehead.
Oh, and you're okay. Because I remember the pictures. Do you guys remember pictures of Shaq last time?
Oh yeah.
And Shaq was like, built like this, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about all the other ancillary things that this can do, part of this is it? Would you call it posture? I mean, is that what really?
Yeah.
What else is it changing?
Because really, like we were just listening to him saying, airway is really not an organ; it's a hollow space in our body. And when we're standing upright, now we have to make that function. So the way that our body is twisted around like a pretzel around that space to stay open, comprise of how you are holding yourself.
That's a great way to put it. Right. So we are twisting ourselves around
pretzel
to make way for this thing, no matter what we need to do it.
Yeah.
Greg asked you a great question on the break. Ask your question.
Well, I did. You said at one point that there are people who do this for aesthetic purposes only, right? Because for cosmetic reasons. So as the CEO of the company, do you say, okay, this is another vertical that we didn't necessarily think about, but obviously, given the addressable market for cosmetics, in cosmetic, not that this is surgery, but improvements, let's say.
Oh, it is.
How do you ignore it? You can't ignore it.
We can't ignore it.
No.
Right? It's so popular because it is non-surgical. And so somebody doesn't have to endure the risks of surgery to come out looking better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times patients will lose weight while they go through treatment.
And you said it's
more symmetrical,
9
stronger
months.
jawline.
Because it's
right?
the jawline,
9
what
months.
you mentioned.
9
So
months.
that's
9
a
months
big
to
thing
a
right
year.
now is the jawline.
Well, listen, every time you come on, you show pictures.
Yeah.
And you're showing pictures of people breathing better. It doesn't make any sense. What you're showing is the physiological change.
Yeah.
We have a picture right now. I think this is a patient that you brought. Jared, breathe out. Okay, so there's the difference between a before and an after here. And what are we looking at there?
I mean, look at that nose.
Looks like two different guys.
And you guys, that's just like
That's
few months.
from the
Do you see the bridge of his nose?
Yeah.
Oh, it's, okay.
Wow.
We uncrooked it. Is that a word, Kirk? Uncrooked it.
Yes, I like that. Uncrooked.
It is now. It's a word now. It's highly technical.
And you didn't re-break his nose to do
No, I didn't. Well, here's the thing. Because why are we attracted to beautiful faces, right? The symmetrical,
because they can breathe better.
Yes, and they have a body that functions, that they have a nervous system that functions, which what we focus is creating that so that you can breathe without effort.
Yeah.
That's the key there.
So the light bulb went on when you said we bend and break around trying to keep this cavity open. How do you know when you start off something like this? When you're doing the test that Mike went through and you're creating this device?
I'll look at their face. Honestly, your face is byproduct of your body. So what your body puts in your face, the world knows who you are, right? That's why people come to dentists the first thing in the morning when they age, like, oh my gosh, my mouth is just falling apart, gotta go to dentist. Because if you can make this happen, that tells the world I got a healthy body.
But that's esoteric and that's altruistic. Talk to me about why. How does a crooked face have anything to do with breathing better, or have to do with what's going on inside?
You're right. That sounds esoteric because we lost the sight of the fact that our body comes to life, like when we're born, all the way till we become adult until we die. It's constantly changing and responding. And what's here is the part of our body that just puts up that it's a manifestation of those changes. So when your mouth is falling apart, it's because your body is falling apart. People clench, grind their teeth at night is an attempt to breathe, right? So they're destroying their teeth. Oh yeah, absolutely. This has been already proven. Our body, when tongue doesn't have room for breathing, when the airway is collapsing, and when brain is not getting oxygen, one of the first attempts is clenching and grinding. So when your teeth are getting destroyed, you really don't know the correlation is because of lack of breathing, body's alignment, and that twist that is in your body is all from that.
Dr. Esmaili, when you're seeing a patient now, just a dental patient, not a sleep apnea, but a dental patient, are you to the point where you're realizing that a lot of the problems they're having is because they may have sleep apnea?
Oh, every single disease that I treated, Sully, for the first 10 years of dentistry, every single disease in dentistry is related to the way we breathe. From cavities to microbiome, because think about it. When you're breathing through your mouth, all that environment, the pH of the mouth changes and you have cavities. You become prone to growing bacteria that is not supposed to. Now you're a host for certain bacteria. That starts the periodontal disease, which we see children that are mouth breathing. Only their front teeth have gum problems because the air hits it. So that moist environment is compromised because their nose isn't functioning, along with their facial changes, along with the position of their jaw and teeth. Everything falls apart. So everything I treated from dentistry, cavities, gum disease, broken teeth, was related to breathing, which is why I don't do dentistry anymore. I'm only focused on making people breathe.
And what's interesting to me, Kirk, is how did it become a dentist's job to sort of take this on? In your opinion, in terms of why when you were as a company developing technology and such, why not physician? Why not ear, nose, and throat? Why dentist?
So remember what I said earlier about the journey that medicine has been on of discovery of what this disease is and what it does. And what we've realized is that a lot of things sort of there's a confluence of things that resolve in the oral cavity. So what's happened is that the dental industry has reluctantly been thrust into the limelight here to do something other than fillings and crowns and root canals.
Right.
And suddenly medicine is looking to them going, all these things are resolving in the oral cavity. Maybe you guys in dentistry ought to think about how you can do something. And the dentists are going, well, we have this mandibular advancement device. That's been around for 40 years. It's just not a great solution. So Vivos has got the next generation of things which will actually get to the root cause of the problem. And I think that's the key point.
The science involved in this, obviously, is FDA cleared. You've got new insurance codes out there, which are huge, meaning that people can use their insurance to get this done. What's next, do you think, in terms of technology and in terms of breakthrough? Because it's all about adoption right now, right?
Yeah, so I think for us, it's all about execution on our, we've talked here previously about how we've pivoted to a more medical facing thing.
Sure.
The head of our clinical advisory board heads up the sleep center at Stanford University. We've got medical doctors now publishing and putting out statements about us. We'll have a medical doctor here on in the next segment here, right? But we're pivoting more towards medicine because medicine is where these patients are. They may be in the dental office, but the dentists are consumed by dentistry stuff.
Right.
So the next big thing for Vivos is to get the attention of the medical community to say, hey, there's another alternative to CPAP. Your patients want it. Your patients will use it instead of CPAP being in the corner or on the shelf.
Yeah.
And their patients will stay better longer.
Dr. Esmaili, last time you were on there, you talked to us about the untold truth about sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Review that again, because I think we hear about people dying in their sleep and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the untold truth is the obstructive sleep apnea is when we actually have patients wired with a sleep test to know that they can't breathe. But the truth of it is they're not breathing the other two-thirds either. And it just really dawned on me talking to our guest at the next segment, he's a medical doctor, is our diagnosis of this condition needs to be generalized. It's global. The treatment should be specialized.
Stand by, because we're going to talk to Stephen McKay. We have his permission, correct?
Yes.
To come on the air and talk to us about.
He's coming to us from England.
So we can zoom us from England. He's going to talk to us live here about his journey. And you'll be able to get a little. You could run out of the building screaming, or you could stay. Big show. Vivos Therapeutics, Vivos. We'll see you in a second.
Wherever you're watching, wherever you are listening, we always appreciate you being along for the ride. I am Costa. That lady right there in the brown is Mary Burt Godwin, and of course, Sully.
Great episode. We got Kirk Huntsman once again from Vivos Therapeutics, stock symbol VVOS, and of course Vivos.com. Dr. Bahar Esmaili, the Vice President of Clinical Integration. And we're talking about obstructive sleep apnea again. And the reason we're talking about it is because not only it's an interesting company to follow in terms of for Big Biz Show, but we started talking about this, and suddenly the network called up and said, we got 1 million emails coming back on what is this? I bet that happens to you every time.
It really does.
When you start talking about it, say, oh, wait a minute. Because I see the light bulb go off in her right the first time you were on, especially we're talking to a pediatrician, we're talking to a cardiologist.
Yeah.
We have a practicing dentist who now doesn't practice dentistry because she's now an airway architect, as she puts herself.
Right.
Talk about what we're about to see here, because it's pretty exciting.
I am so excited for this next segment. So we have at Vivos an 18,000 square foot training and treatment facility in Denver, Colorado, right at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And patients are now discovering that Vivos has something unique and something different. And they're flying in from all around the world to be treated by Dr. Esmaili and other Vivos doctors in our technology. Patients who have not been able to breathe for years, who've been suffering and have really traveled the world over to find solutions. And so we have a patient here, one of our favorite guys. And he's coming to us today from England, where he lives, and he found Bahar online and made his way to Colorado. You put him through treatment, and the rest is history. But we want to hear from him and you today about that.
Yeah, this is a really cool patient. Makes me excited to have him here, Sully, because what Stephen has to share is a common story of average patient. The only difference is he was actively looking for what he found here, but most people don't. So I'm hoping that we can bring that over and just see where his journey started and why he's here.
Let's bring up Stephen McKay. Stephen, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Look, he looks familiar, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
This is the picture of So let me ask you something. First of all, you look like a completely different person. Do you feel like a different person?
I feel so much better, yes. It took me a long time to find the answers I needed, but finally I'm on the right track. So, living the dream.
How did you, first of all, before we get to what the treatment was like, how did you find Vivos? Was this just a matter of conducting due diligence online and taking your symptoms and cross-tabbing with what you could find out there to solve it?
No, I actually had to get the details via some physical therapists that I was working with to try and restore my health. Over the years, I've had a few injuries playing sport, and I've had a lot of problems sleeping and breathing, and so I tried to fix my problems with physical therapy alone, but then I was given Dr. Esmaili's details because she can work with the mouth and the upper airway and different things like that. So she's been able to fast track my progress.
Stephen, love your Italian accent, by the way. It's somebody who suffers and is going down the path with Vivos, and I'm so excited, and I'm sure you're like me, that anytime now the conversation comes up about sleep apnea, I'm grabbing people and saying, no, stop. Vivos.com, Vivos. Let me take you there. How brutal were your night's sleep though before they helped you change, and how tired were you the day after normally?
I had a lot of problems sleeping. Waking up during the night was the biggest problem. Waking up, gasping for air.
Yep.
In fact, I almost ended up in the emergency department a few times because it was getting quite serious.
What I wanted to... Go ahead. Continue, Stephen.
Not very many doctors knew what was going on, to be completely honest. And I feel like it's a topic that a lot of doctors don't want to really discuss because it's out of their scope of expertise.
So how did it work? How did it start with him?
Well, the fact is, Stephen started with bicuspid extraction, which nobody actually looked at. So they had to remove 2 upper teeth, permanent upper teeth, for orthodontic purposes when he was 10 years old. And by far, his life turned around. As a child, reports go back, and everything's exacerbated when he was 21 years old. 1 concussion, and his body just completely going backwards. Yeah. And for 10 years, nobody's really looking and saying, where did it all start? A dentist got him into a trouble that now he's limping along. His breathing got dysfunctional, his sleeping, and his posture. So he goes to all those people to address them in an individual way, in a silo. Nobody has the global picture. And when I looked at him, like I said, that nail in the forehead was there. When you have a crooked nose, you have a crooked spine, you have a crooked pelvis, you have a crooked everything. And you're in a pretzel, for lack of a better term, and we just had to untwist that pretzel, and it doesn't take too long because body is pretty smart. Obviously, you guys can see that he's pretty smart.
And Kirk, this device does that, correct?
Yeah.
Well, the device with the adjunctive therapies that we've developed.
So really important. It's an important piece.
It's not just. I think if you think about our oral devices as the linchpin that sort of holds everything together. So we could deploy chiropractic, we can deploy oral myofunctional therapy, any number of what we call adjunctive therapies. They all do something good, but it doesn't hold together without the oral appliance. And that's what makes it central to us to have this device.
Because sometimes when you do this, you bring in a cardiologist, or you bring in a chiropractor, or you bring in a pediatrician or a sleep therapist, and so on and so forth, right?
Right. That's right. Yes. And we're the only people that have ever published in major medical journals the ability to resolve sleep apnea. Everybody else is managing this condition.
Right.
So the attempt of CPAP, the intent of it is to manage that condition until you die.
Right. Here's your Band-Aid.
Here's your Band-Aid until you die. What we're trying to do is deal with the root cause.
Say again?
Same as MAD devices, the traditional MAD options or surgical treatments, they're just meant to keep him in that state till, like you said, that shoe drops.
Yeah, a MAD device is a mandibular advancement device. It's your typical oral appliance. It's not what we do, but that's the typical.
Hey, Stephen, talk about the therapy itself. What was it like? What was the journey like?
Well, I'm not long into it. I think I'm about 6 months in, and it's been wonderful so far, especially making that trip over to Colorado to the Rocky Mountains. There's plenty to do over there, and you know, the folks over there at Vivos are very welcoming, and I feel like a special guest over there for sure. The journey so far has been very comfortable compared to other experiences I've had with upper airway management. I wouldn't even call it management. I would say it was an attempt to manage it, but my experience over at Vivos has been 5 stars. So
when you put the device in originally, was it as simple as we've been discussing here? You use the device after dinner, you sleep in it overnight, and that's it. And little by little, I mean, after 6 months, you look completely different. I mean, your nose is completely straight, your jaw is straight. I mean, it's easy to see the pictures. I mean, was it painful? Was it inconvenient? Talk about that.
It looks like it could have been painful from the pictures there, but absolutely not. No. For me, I just felt subtle changes, and I definitely felt some weird things going on in my face, and especially around my temples. But it was sporadic, and the thing is, my body just changed whenever it decided it was ready to. And thankfully, the appliance, it was always there to take up the slack if I wanted to go to the gym and do some exercise or lift weights, or I definitely didn't lose any progress. It was always in there, pushing that force that I needed for the changes to occur. So
guys, as your mouth changes during this process, do you change the oral device to where
there's adjustments? It's adjustable. Okay. So as we make changes in the way that the teeth fit together, it adjusts to accommodate that. Right. What he hasn't said to you yet is he spent a decade of his life. He's only 30. Mm-hmm. He spent a decade, traveled all around the world, had treatment in South Korea, had treatment here in the United States, searched everywhere.
Including rapid expansion.
Oh, he went through all kinds of traditional things trying to find a solution. It was only when he found Dr. Bahar and Vivos that he was able to find relief. And that's what we love about his story, because it's rare that you find somebody that goes to that lengths at such a young age and then gets the results, and now he's a huge advocate for it.
So after 6 months of treatment.
No, not even that.
But the long story short, his journey's been 6 months long, including coming and seeing you. But long story short is how is he? You think he's halfway through? Do you think he's almost?
No, he's about 100% as far as his breathing establishment. Now we have to just now dial the teeth in to make sure that he retains that position, because when you stand on your feet right here, and I see you keep shifting your weight, I'm watching you. Watching you. So you basically, your mouth is kind of like shifting you on one side or another. So that pretzel keeps going backwards if you don't, because your feet and your mouth are two ends of your chain. So finishing the teeth might take a while because the teeth need to hold that position. But our appliance does a great job giving body a reference that he needs to breathe into.
Stephen, thanks so much for your time, pal. We want to follow your journey as you go along there. Best of luck, Stephen. Good stuff. Stephen McKay. Well, I'll tell you, that's what are you happy now? Are you scared? Are you better now?
And I was talking with Kirk during the break. Think, okay, there's Stephen, and there's a lot of Stephens out in the world that have finally gotten to the end of the rainbow. But think how many people out there don't even know they have it.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then they kind of go, well, what do I do now?
Coming up in a second, I'm Singh, doctor, board-certified sleep physician. I'm going to talk about also what's the next step, if there is any, for FDA.
In over 175 countries and all the ships at sea on the American Forces Network, it is the Big Biz Show, live from the Loft 100 studios in Southern California. As always, shout out to our men and women of the United States Armed Forces for what you do. Mike Costa, Miraber Godwin, and Sully on a very, very special Big Biz.
Yeah, we've only done this, I think the only other time we did this with you folks, when we started talking about obstructive sleep apnea, and then of course the network said, you can't believe the amount of emails that are coming in to talk about this. And we were featuring you as a company. Of course, the company is called Vivos Therapeutics. They are publicly traded, stock ticker symbol VVOS. You can go to vivos.com. And we were talking about just a space in the biotech, biopharma, bioappliance type space, and suddenly you guys showed up, and it was a shareholder that contacted us, and you should be talking to these guys. And suddenly it's turned into a giant national public service announcement. We're 125 million TV homes strong in the U.S., plus American Forces radio networks. We're broadcast on radio and television, and the world is seeing what you guys have to, which I think is important. I think the message is as important as talking about your company here.
Yeah, sure.
Talk about well, first of all, what a great experience talking to Stephen.
Yeah, he's amazing. But he's one of the tens of millions of people out there roaming the world trying to figure out, why don't I feel right? What's wrong with me?
Well, you said he's 30 years old. He's been chasing this down since he was 20. It brings up to mind the pediatrician that you brought on here earlier.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
I mean, this is a big piece of this thing.
Yeah.
It starts young, and I don't think people realize it.
It does start young, which, talking about our FDA clearances, the last FDA clearance we got is probably near and dear to our hearts, because it was the first time ever that the FDA has cleared an oral device to treat pediatric sleep apnea, moderate and severe pediatric sleep apnea. Otherwise, what happens is we put these kids under anesthesia and we remove their tonsils and their adenoids. It's a surgical solution. And we come along and say, hey, wait, don't do that. There's an alternative to all the parents out there who have children that are mouth breathing, or that have chronic allergies, or wetting the bed, or are behind in school, or their growth is stunted. All those things are indications of an airway issue. And we got an expert here with us here in Dr. Singh for that, but that's to be able to treat the pediatric population. Sure. It's such a blessing.
Well, can you imagine, what Mike brought up in the beginning, imagine the productivity, catching this early. Imagine the productivity that happens across the country.
Throughout an entire life.
Dr. Singh, what is a board-certified sleep physician? What
we go through extensive testing, fellowship training, and then we get through the diplomat of American Board of, I'm a psychiatrist actually, my baseline specialty, and then I went into sleep. And so then you go through that fellowship and you take a test and you get board certified in sleep. But there's different routes to it, right? You can go in maybe as an internist, a family practitioner, pediatrician, or an ENT doctor.
So sleep disorder doesn't mean just waking up in the middle of the night a lot or not being able to breathe. There's a ton of them. You've got, before you were coming on, you got restless leg syndrome. You've got obstructive sleep apnea. You have sleepwalking. You've got sleep talking. You've got, there's hundreds of things that happen. And is there a panacea to this thing, or is it all? Can it all be brought back to lifestyle or overweight or underweight? I mean, what are the takeaways?
Yeah, I think that's that's one of the things that we've realized now about sleep, right? There's so many disorders out there actually, and it's not necessarily all contributed by lifestyle, right? For example, you got a patient that has narcolepsy. Well, that's a genetic disorder, right? So you've got to really...
falling asleep on the spot any time of the day or night.
Well, that's a lot of times that's the way society looks at it, right? But these folks get missed, just like patients of sleep apnea, right? And sleep disorder in general. First of all, we as medical students don't get enough training in sleep at all, right? Sure. But then you think about even physicians, right? Primary care docs, they're seeing this all the time. Well, you know, a patient present, and you heard Steve talking about it. His problem was he's waking up in the middle of the night. Yeah. Well, he goes sees his primary care doc. Guess what happens? He gets put on Ambien. Okay.
Right.
And that's exactly what happens. Is like we're not trying to get to the root of the problem and understand and make that diagnosis.
Dr. Singh, you mentioned we talked about the pediatric element, and I don't mean to sober the conversation to the point, but is there a SIDS element that may be attached to sleep apnea? And I don't know if you can really go to an infant child or a toddler and say, oh, that they may, but will we get there one day, you think?
I think the research is happening, right? So I think we're trying to tie things in now. I think it'll take some time to actually look at SIDS and maybe make that tie-in, but there definitely is going to be research happening in terms of that. And I think that's the greatest thing about sleep. Like the research has increased so much in the last, decade. We just know so much more.
So does it come down to screening? Has to all come down to screening, correct?
100%. 100%.
What he does.
So you took a sleep. What is your sleep test like? Were you in the middle of a?
Oh my God.
Were you in a center? What were you doing?
Yeah, the center was my bed.
Okay.
Actually, my guest room because I blocked out everything.
You can do it from home now.
Do it from home. It's a little ring you wear on your finger, and you connect it Bluetooth to your app on your phone. And having gone to one where I had to go to a hospital and they had to hook me up and do all the whole 9 yards. No, this was so simple, and then it just registers everything that the sleep test wants to find out as far as how many times you have an episode or that type of thing. And
there's some B-roll of what
right there. There it is. You wear the sleep test Super Bowl ring on your finger for a night.
There you go.
And then and that's it to your phone.
Is that so? Is that best practice? Is that the tip of the spear? Or there's more than these, or?
So the beauty is that technology has advanced so much that we have this now as best practice, right? So at one point, a lot of doctors went into sleep because they could do the in-lab study and get paid a lot by insurance. Well, that's changed, okay? And that also prevents the diagnosis and delays the treatment.
Plus, people don't want to go in there and do it. The adoption is huge on that. I'm not going to go sleep somewhere in the middle of the week. So
100%.
So what are you finding? When you're doing these screening, is there top 3 things you look at immediately, or what points to this therapy as again best practices?
Yeah, so I would say still the most prevalent disorder out there with sleep is sleep apnea, right? By far.
Sure.
And you've already heard it. We're missing 80% of the cases, right? So definitely we're looking at that and breathing, right? But we're also looking at sleep quality, sleep duration, and things like that to help us define in terms of what's happening with a patient's sleep. But the bottom line is with sleep apnea being so prevalent and impacting your health, as we know now, not only from a cardiac standpoint, from a neuropsychiatric standpoint, right? And Dr. Bahar knows this about the mental aspects of it, the physical, the functional aspects of it, right? So the bottom line is we got to get that treated. And the bottom line is all we've had for years is CPAP. And still now, so many folks and specialists are just about CPAP, right? But we got to get beyond that. We got to think about what can we do. And again, like Kirk has said, this is a treatment that actually will go farther and likely prevent you of, trying to get to the cure.
Can't get up with this. We're out of time this time. We got to do this one more time, at least one more time. I don't know what's sure. Dr. Bahar Esmaili, Dr. Aman Singh, of course, Kirk Huntsman. You guys, thank you so much. I will tell you, your email box are going to be full after this. How you feel there, buddy? What's next for you?
I'm ready. I got to go in and just get my mold. And
you're on your way.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I will shout it from the top of the mountains about Vivos.
Vivos Therapeutics, stock symbol VVOS, Vivos.com. Mike, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I don't want you to, but I'd like to poke fun at you, so I'm not sure I wanted you to get treated. See you tomorrow.